her coming to say I have stomach pain, my stomach is paining me, mommy, my stomach is paining me, and so it was scary, right? Then to worsen it, she started stooling with blood stains. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? And where are you watching from? My name is Haritha, and my kunya is Umsulin. So my last delivery was hectic. The postpartum, let's say, from the very day I put to bed, for months after. I don't just want to say to date, right? Alhamdulillah, ala kulli hal. But then it was really, really challenging. The postpartum came with a lot of things and all. So in the very earlier time of the postpartum challenges, one day, that's a night to my postnatal checkup, my daughter had stomach ache. I wasn't, like I said, my postpartum that time was very hectic. So I was mostly not, active, I wasn't really myself. So most of the time I'm just locked in the room so I can rest because I suffered from serious insomnia. And that particular night, I was already in the room trying to get some sleep. So the door was locked and all of that. So she had stomach ache, apparently, like after eating dinner, maybe 2 hours after eating dinner, based on the report, she had stomach ache. And before you know, she was like, oh, I want to poo. When I woke up and I was told that, oh, she's having stomach ache, now the mother instinct in you and all of that. What's up? What's wrong with you? Oh, my stomach, mommy. And she's really little. She was 2 years, just 2 years at that time. So that's a child of 2 years being able to say I have stomach ache and even being able to explain it, express how she feels and the pain. It was scary to me because I've never heard her say I have so pain. Yeah, when she's running temperature, I'm like, oh, she's running temperature, let me take her for checkup and all of that. But beyond that, she doesn't come and say, oh, mommy, I'm having this pain here. So her coming to say I have stomach pain, my stomach is paining me, mommy, my stomach is paining me, and so it was scary, right? Then to worsen it, she started stooling with blood stains. I was already like, oh, maybe we'll have to get her to the hospital immediately because I don't like taking chances with health. Ya Rabbi. Allah saves, I know, but you have to tie your camel first, then put your trust in Allah. So I said, okay, let me observe and see. But then when the stool started having blood stains, and the stool wasn't even much, it was more like just, little thing and then blood stain, it became scary. But Alhamdulillah, Allah eased it for her that night, and she became okay. She slept, and I was like, Alhamdulillah. However, I had the plan to take her along with me when going to the hospital the next day. So when I got to the hospital the next morning, because on our way there, I thought, oh, let me go to the pediatric ward first. I queued. But then when I spoke with my sister that, oh, I'm still standing and waiting for my sister was like, no, you said this child was stooling, let's say blood, yes, because the blood was even more than, what else she was stooling. So I said yes. And she was like, no, go and meet the nurses and tell them that this is the situation because this is an emergency. What? At the mention of that, you know how God, my blood was here and there. And like I said, my entire system was not just okay at that time. I was managing myself. I was, dizziness. I had vertigo. Yes, I was also, see, there was just a lot happening to me at that time. So, but I didn't just think it was going to be something too serious, especially since she stabilized and, things were fairly okay that morning before I left. So when I got there, on our way going, I fed her fried rice inside the car. So when we got there now, I mean, when I got to the nurse, I explained to the nurse, she was boiling up. I think her temperature was already at 39, either 38 or 39. So the nurses checked and they were like, oh, she's burning up. And I said, yes, why I came to the hospital is because she's stooling blood. So the nurses were like, oh, why didn't you tell us why you were here and you've been clean? This is an emergency. You don't have to wait. Go to the emergency unit. I said, okay, immediately. I grabbed her, and at that time she could still work because like I said, I was so weak myself. I couldn't, like, carrying her. I just didn't have the strength. Also, I thought because I later had to. Anyways, when I got to the emergency unit, my darling country. Oh, that's why I like when it comes to health, I try as much as I can to gather as much, evidences as I can to show, proof whatever it is that is wrong with me or wrong with anyone around me. As much as I can gather evidences to prove the journey so far before I get to the hospital. I try as much as I can to do that. So I'd already snapped her poo and all of that, the previous night. So when I got there, they were like, oh, the first question doctor just came, emergency unit here in my country is always very busy. In fact, an emergency case that should be attended to ASAP could be treated eventually like it's not an emergency. Well, they are not sleeping. There are just too many emergency cases and few hands. So the doctor just asked me, do you have a picture of what you're describing? Because my daughter looked stable. That's it. My daughter is, she knows how to kind of hold pain. So that's why that my stomach is paining me was a big deal to me, because she just doesn't complain of, pain unnecessarily, let's say. Immediately, I said, yes, I do. So took my bag and quickly went in, brought out my phone, and I showed him. Immediately he saw it, he was like, oh, wow. And immediately they checked her. Then after checking, just physical examination, and then they said, oh, there is, I don't know the words, I don't know the word right now for that there is a blockage, and I don't know the word. So when I heard that, I was like, really? So he even asked me to check. And yes, he asked me to check this place. I checked and I could feel like a ball kind of thing there. So he was like, that is an obstruction or obstruction, something like that. Then he dumped the news I was not expecting. He didn't come for at all on me. She would be needing surgery. Hmm? From where to where? It was just like from here to here. I was immediately, because like I said, I was going through a lot that time, including clinical depression and anxiety. So it was a lot on me. It was, and my baby, my newborn was at home, because it was just for me to go for my, postnatal and come back. So I just, let's go together. So my mom was with my newborn at home. So when he said so, I didn't even know how to start feeling, where to. My emotions, were all over the place, to be honest. And I could say that my nose mask was soaking. And then it's a what's it called? It's a teaching hospital here, and if you are in Nigeria, you know the hectic nature of a teaching hospital. Oh my God! So now I have to go and get admission pack. I have to go and get this. I have to go and get that. And I am managing myself. Vertigo is not play. So it was one of the symptoms of the things I was going through, subjective vertigo. So you can imagine, the movement for me from a place to another was not even easy, to be honest. But then I had to, because this is an emergency. Now, my daughter at this point could not walk. So I told the doctor, oh, can I please just leave her in on the bed and then rush? He was like, no, you can't. This is examination room. So other people will come with their kids and we have to examine them, which makes sense. But because of my own condition and situation too, and I was alone in the hospital. So I was just confused. I was already crying. I didn't even know what to do, to be honest. I was down. So now my own checkup for that day was just on hold. I backed my daughter and I didn't go with Trapper, so I had to back her, carry my bag, walking from, one place to another to get the what's it called, admission items and every other thing I was asked to. So on my way going to get the admission pack, of course, I was crying, I was weak, I was, dizzy. Oh, good. It was just not funny that day, thinking about it. But Alhamdulillah, we conquered it. Here we are. So on my way going, crying, that was how a brother, he had spotted me from far. And I don't know how he was able to notice it, that this person is crying, this sister is crying. So he immediately, now, Assalamu alaikum, sister, wa alaikum salam, he stopped me. And then he said, you are crying. That was so shocking, because my face was literally covered on hijab. So, and I was walking like this. My eyes, my head was kind of bent, because I just didn't, in fact, a lot of things were just, swirling in my mind and all of that. So that was, I could not even say anything. I just burst into tears. Just like when you're trying to hold so much emotions, and then someone now comes and say, oh, tell me about it. And then you just let out a well of tears. So that was the similitude of what happened that day. And he asked me what happened immediately. I was at that point where I don't even want to say, oh, this one is a stranger. I don't want to tell him something, or I don't want to tell her. I was willing to, like, if I could scream everything I was going through at that time, I would scream. So I told him, oh, I just came to the hospital for my postnatal checkup. And I went to the emergency room, and then now they said my daughter needs surgery. Oh, surgery. Yeah, Robbie. He was like, oh, he was so empathetic Then he said, have they done scan? I said, no, they haven't. They did physical examination. And they said, oh, this. He now said, okay, well, they would have to. I don't know if he's a doctor, if he is a doctor, because thinking about, at that time, I couldn't care less, but thinking about it now, he probably is a doctor that works there because he seemed to know about it. Then he was like, oh, they'll have to run a test first, a scan test. So after the scan, they would know if there's really a blockage. That it could be that there is a blockage now, but it may resolve on its own. So he made me, oh my God, he took my emotion from 1,000 to 100. I mean, that's a lot. So he was like, oh, don't worry about it. It's possible that they will do the scan and it would have resolved. I was like, oh, so it's actually possible that this resolves. So the thought of surgery was just, oh my God, it's so scary. I don't know. And then he just said, don't cry, okay? And even if it's going to be a surgery, it's not, he demystified the surgery, the surgical operation, because I dreaded it. I was so worried, scared, for lack of words, worried and scared. So he made me kind of calm with all of that. And then he said, are you alone in the hospital? I said, yes, I came alone because I didn't think it was something, a big deal for me to have said, oh, so someone should accompany me. He now said, oh, you would have to call someone because you can't keep backing her at the same time running the hospital errands and all of that. I said, okay, no problem, I would. So I'd already called before then. Immediately, I was told in the hospital emergency room that there is going to be need for surgery. I'd already called my, husband immediately, and he had a very important meeting that morning. But nothing is more important than hearing that, oh, your daughter is on the verge of a surgical procedure. So immediately he also took off from the office and he was heading down. So Alhamdulillah, I felt at ease. So when my husband came, I told him, oh, I met somebody like this, and this is what he said, that there will be a scan and there's a possibility of it resolving on its own. Because from that moment, how nice he was, how, oh, don't cry again, you need to be strong for your daughter. And, from that moment, I felt better. You understand? And that was just it. Then after that, oh, assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam, he left. I don't even think, I'm not sure if I see him now, I don't think I still remember the face. I don't think I do. I don't remember the face. I don't even know the name, but I did not for one day forget the action and how kind he was and how much his kindness, his empathy, how far it took me in that, whole episode and era. Let me call it an era of, combined pain. It really was, to be honest. So it reminds me of the fact that on the day of judgment, there are people who they probably don't even remember that they've done things that mean much or meant much, and then they see the deeds weighing heavily, positively on their scale, and they would be wondering, where is this from? Look at this person now. I don't know him. I can't give him his physical flowers, but I do not forget to always mention him to Allah. That Allah sends people to also be there when He needs someone. Allah sent people to ease. He used people as sabab to ease his pain, his dunya affairs, and that he adds what he has done as something that will weigh heavy on his scale on the day of standing, because it meant a lot. It really helped me. He could have ignored, even if he had noticed I was crying, he could have thought everyone is in the hospital. I mean, no one went to the hospital to have fun. So this is a call to myself first and to you watching right now, that in every way you can, every chance you get, however little, just do good to people. And if you get to watch this video to this point, please whisper dua to Allah for him. Bye.